Hi everybody, Chad Westport here, and you may have seen my recent announcement on the Future Cannabis Project FCPO2 channel, where I announced that for this next run, I'm going to switch from my normal synthetic system that works great for me, has many advantages that I enjoy, over to an organic soil or living soil system. And to do that, I selected two different brands of bagged soils that are supposedly water only. We're going to put them to the test. And one of those we're going to be taking a closer look at today. That is the Sohum Living Soil. It's a water only soil. I should be able to go from beginning to end without adding any amendments. Only water. So let's take a closer look at this product and see what we can learn about it. The Sohum Living Soil comes in 1.5 cubic feet bags, which is a little over 11 gallons. So do the math and figure out how much you're going to need based upon your pot size. So if you're anything like me, you want to read the back of the bag. You want to find out what's in it. You want to find out whatever it can tell you. And on the back of the bag, they have, everything has their little pitch. And this says the Sohum Living Soils premium grade potting mix was handcrafted by growers for growers, providing a nutrient-dense mix to optimize plant growth for the entire annual life cycle of a plant in indoor-outdoor container cultivation systems. Please visit the website to determine appropriate container size for desired plant height. That's an important piece of information there. Again, living soil systems need larger pots. 7 gallons is typically the minimum size that is recommended. Now, Sohum actually sent me a chart. I'll get into that in a little bit, but I just wanted you to keep that in mind. You're not going to go full cycle in a 1 gallon pot and not need to feed it. So size is important when it comes to living soils. But basically the directions for it, it's pretty easy. Again, it should be a water only system, and they do. It says for use in all size containers, but again, we'll get back to that. Just add water. They say to pH it anywhere from 6 to 7. Basic stuff. Fill the container with the soil, transplant, top it off with more soil, water it in, and continue to water the plant as needed, and only add fertility if deficiencies are observed. So again, they, do understand some plants may want a little bit more. Some plants may be in the pot for longer than they intended it to be in there. So you might need to feed. Again, we'll see what happens here. The thing that always interests me though is the ingredients. This perlite, sphagnum, peat moss, fertilizer, see below. That's the big box here. Basically the NPK on it is 0.5, 0.5, 0.25. And they get a lot of it down here. It says it's derived from worm castings, alfalfa meal, crab meal, bone meal, feather meal, langbonite, kelp meal. And some of that is slow release as well. Again, nothing too crazy there. Things that are pretty common in living soil systems, so that's on track. And the living soil aspect of it, they get into that here. They got two types here. They got Bacillus subtilis, and they also have Bacillus amlurorum in there. So, that's where they get the living soil aspect of it. And a lot of people are going to ask about the microbes in it, how can they survive storage, shipping, all of that stuff. And, Sohum specifically says that after the initial manufacturing of the soil, the microbial colonies are organically interacting at an elevated level already. But this activity decreases over time. Without any plant activity, they become dormant in the soil until it's ready for use. They give this soil a 2-year shelf life. And then once opened, remixed, and used for planting, the microbes will immediately become available for plant nutrient uptake. So that is where they're getting the living soil. That's how it works in the bagged soil system. And let's take a look at this data sheet that they have here. Some cool stuff. Alright, so I just wanted to hit a few of the highlights off the data sheet. Again, all of this information you can find on their website. The website will be down in the description. But I just want to hit a few of the highlights. I like that they break down their recommendations. There's a photo period, and then there's auto flower section. You're going to treat them a little bit differently. But for the photo period, real quick, you know, and this actually goes for the autos too. This soil is strong. Don't start your seeds in it. Don't start your clones in it. You're likely to burn them. That's what they say. I haven't tried it yet, but you know me, I'm going to try it anyways. Not for this experiment. Separate video. But yeah, so start them in something else. They say basically full-strength Sohum can be introduced at the first transplant into a 1-gallon container. Cool for me. That's the step I'm at right now. Again, if you got chlorinated water, let it sit out for at least 24 hours. That's a lot of people do that. It's not something new that you've heard. Doesn't require flushing. There's no salt-based nutrients. And you can reuse the soil, but you'll likely have to re-amend it. Okay, not a big shock there. Pretty common. That's cool. Everybody wants to reuse their materials. Close the loops, save some money, better for the environment, yada, yada, yada. But let me put up this chart here. I'll put this chart up on the screen right now. But it's basically how many weeks you'll get in different container sizes. And it starts with the 1 gallon. You can get 3 to 4 weeks in veg with it, and then the battery is done. I'm going to be using the 7 gallons, which is usually the smallest that people will recommend for living soil type systems. With the 7 gallons, I'll get 3 weeks in veg and 8 weeks in flower. Now, if you guys have a 10-week flowering strain, do the math on that. If I put it in the 7 gallon and it was a 10-week strain, it might run out of juice and need some amending. Okay, do the math. But that's it for the chart there. The auto flowers, just a couple highlights on this one. And again, guys, it's on their website. But I already said don't start your seeds in there. For autoflower varieties, they say 4 to 5 gallon is a good sized pot to just set it and forget it. Don't need to transplant it. But again, they say don't directly sow into this stuff, and they have what they call as a Cyclops method. And this is how we all usually transplant anyways. You know, we put the size container in the middle on the dirt so it has a hole when we pull it out, then we transplant, we plop it in the hole. That's what they kind of recommend to do. Do that. They call it the Cyclops method. You pull out the container and then you add a lighter strength mix in that center hole, and then that's where you start your autoflower seeds. And I guess you could do clones that way too, but yeah, I got an arrow cloner, so that's how I roll. Yada yada. Don't clone autoflowers, basic stuff right there. Okay, so don't overwater. Again, this goes for photo periods and autoflowers. They say it doesn't like wet roots. We know this. It needs oxygen in the root zone as well. Now, most living soil systems need to stay wetter than traditional synthetically fed soil. That's something I'm going to have to deal with, and I'm not quite sure if this applies here, so I'm going to get a hold of the rep, and hearing that, hopefully you guys will give me some questions to ask the rep as well. You just put them in the comments below. But I'll ask them about that. This stuff is pretty light. It almost feels like a bag of cocoa, so I think I'm going to have to water it down. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to open the bag, take a look at it, see what we think. All right, so let's go in and take a look. Okay, decent light mix. It's got perlite in there for the aeration. Still has a decent amount of moisture to it. Definitely feels really fluffy. It actually it almost feels exactly like the Soilless mix that I've been using. But this stuff is supercharged. It's the Sohum Living Soil, and I'm excited to give this a go. It'll be interesting to see how the plants turn out without any kind of feeding. I might get bored, but I need to find something that I can recommend to people who are looking for a solution like this. So there you go. Those are my first impressions of the Sohum Living Soil. I'm excited to see how the plants are going to turn out. I'm excited to hopefully find something that I can recommend to anybody looking for an easier way to grow. You know, new growers, people with limited time, maybe people with limited mobilities. I want people to be able to grow healthy medicine for themselves. That is the point. So we're going to give the Sohum Living Soil a shot. Please stay tuned. Check for updates here. I'll also be putting a few on the FCPO2 channel. And in the meantime, party on!